some of our people in captivity. And finally, we have been able to eliminate them.
And sadly, however, we have one guy that committed suicide on the grave of his fiancée.
Yeah, I saw that, Brandon.
I think they had both been captured, right?
Absolutely, yes.
And they made it back. Did she make it back alive?
I believe so. She did, but he didn't.
She made it back. No, he committed suicide. He made it back alive. I don't think she made it back alive.
Okay.
And he committed suicide a week after his brother's wedding on her grave. And I think he was engaged to her.
Yeah, terrible stories.
He held out as long as he could, got through the family wedding, and then a week later ended it on her grave.
And Brandon, there's another story where it was the newly married wife. She saw her husband being mutilated to death. She survived it. She was released. She was in the studio.
Colonel Rob Maness has a lifelong record of providing dedicated service to this nation. Having worked his way up from the enlisted ranks to full colonel, he served our country for more than 32 years. He has served as a bomber squadron commander, bomb disposal technician, Joint Chiefs of Staff operations officer, assisted the national security team with the campaign plan for the global war on terrorism. He authored the first theater nuclear war plan and served as the vice commander of America's largest airborne intelligence wing. Colonel Rob Maness is a true American hero. This is Rob Maness Live.
Our top focus on beyond at this hour. Ukraine has launched one of its widest waves of long-range drone and artillery attacks on Russian territory, killing at least 8 people and striking targets hundreds of kilometers from the front line, according to Russian authorities. Belgorod, Saratov and Udmurtia regions in Russia had reported the deadliest incidents. 3 people were killed in shelling in Belgorod near the Ukrainian border, while 2 others died after a drone strike hit a residential building in the Saratov region. In Russia's Udmurtia region, more than 1,000 kilometers from the battlefield, 3 people were killed when a drone struck a civilian vehicle. Russian authorities also reported that Ukrainian drones targeted a Wildberries warehouse in Samara region, which is 800 kilometers from Ukraine's forward positions, triggering a fire. No casualties were reported from the strike in the warehouse. Meanwhile, Moscow said that its air defense systems has intercepted 635 Ukrainian drones overnight and described it as one of the largest drone attacks carried out by Ukraine in recent months. Ukraine has increasingly expanded its long-range strikes on Russian military, energy and economic infrastructure. Ukrainian authorities state that such strikes are a legitimate response to continued Russian aggression. Kyiv maintains that the continued strikes will increase pressure on Moscow to return to negotiations. But these escalations come as diplomatic efforts show tentative signs of revival. US President Donald Trump recently reversed course and he approved a Patriot air defense manufacturing license for Ukraine. Meanwhile, US Secretary of State Marco Rubio told a leading American news network that Washington is actively exploring opportunities to restart peace talks between Russia and Ukraine, even as fighting on the ground continues unabated.
Efforts over the next few weeks to see if we can't restart talks between the 2 sides and bring this war to an end. But we also understand that both sides have some pretty strong red lines, and until we can bring those red lines a little closer together, we're not going to be there yet. But we're ready to go, and the president's told his team, if you see an opportunity to be a force that brings about some momentum behind peace talks, let's do it.
Welcome back to the Rob Maness Show. We're live on Worldview 2 and our X Spaces simulcast. Well, it's more War Monday, and war is still unpredictable. Getting to peace? Well, people are trying. Right now, it looks a whole lot like more war. You just saw Ukraine hit a key strategic Russian bomber base. I think it's called Ingalls 2. It's got Bears and Blackjack bombers there, which are used to drop cruise missiles on Ukraine. A direct strike at the heart of Moscow's long-range air power. It's bold, it's risky, and it's a reminder that this conflict can escalate in a heartbeat. President Trump canceled the planned weekend strikes on Iran, citing diplomacy. Is this a genuine off-ramp or just a pause while the region keeps boiling over because Israel is having to conduct fresh self-defense strikes in Lebanon? Of course, there's a ceasefire there, supposedly, but Hezbollah doesn't really acknowledge that ceasefire between Israel and the Lebanese government. What else do we got here? We've also got the drone attack on a U.S. floating gas storage facility in Egypt, and that has put the Suez Canal itself under threat. The entire map looks like it's powder keg. Every fuse is lit from Southwest Asia to Moscow. And to break all this down with no spin and no filter is a man who's been there and here before, retired special ops pilot, CDM president and CEO, patriot and fearless truth teller, L. Todd Wood, who just got back from Lebanon, I believe. Todd, welcome back.
Oh, Rob, thanks for having me on. Really appreciate it.
It's just like, live TV, folks, is like ducks on a pond, where you see Todd and I nice and calm here. We're both aviator background, but there's been some fierce peddling going on because of my buffoonery this morning. I appreciate you making it, man. All right, so let's start with Ukraine. Your team and you cover this, I think, better than any media outlet that's out there. So what are they using? This air base is like 1,000 kilometers out past the Urals, right? Ural mountain range, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think the issue is they're using technology that's being supplied to them by NATO, essentially. I don't know if the U.S. is involved or not, but there's definitely some high-end technology, long-range strike technology being provided to the Ukrainians. I find that very disturbing. I'm just going to be blunt with you. I want this war to end. I've been screaming for it for 5 years. It needs to end because you saw this week, Ukraine is trying to combine the Iran and Russian wars because that's a way for them to keep in business. And, they struck a Russian tanker in the Caspian Sea and, apologized for it. But then there's other stuff going on. They want to combine these wars because they see that as a way to continue the spigot for weapons flow, for support. I happen to know, because I have some sources inside, that President Trump does not want that to happen. He wants the Ukraine war to end. He's trying to find a way to end it. I think he has to be bolder myself, but, who am I to give the directions to the president? But I would just say we're done with it. And NATO, you have it, and that's it. And if Russia attacks you, we're not going to support you as an Article 5 because you're providing weapons that are attacking Moscow and very strategic targets inside the Russian Federation. So I'm not pro-Russian, pro-Ukrainian. I'm pro-peace, pro-humanity, pro-Christian. These are two Christian nations fighting each other. It needs to end. And that's my story, and I'm sticking to it, Rob.
Yeah, I think you and I are on the same page the president is on. He's always said, hey, this war wouldn't have started had I still been president. Yeah. Because he would have got them together and worked things out. And just because they're in a war doesn't mean we should be contributing any more to it. Do you think that they warned us about the Caspian Sea strikes?
I don't know. I don't know what's going on. I know the MI6 in the UK are very involved in this and are driving this. So whether they warned the US, I don't know. I mean, Trump is putting out a lot of, both sides of the coin, if you will. Yeah. I think intentional ambiguity, but the fact is that this could, as you mentioned, seriously escalate very easily because all this thought that we're going to wear the Russians down and the population will overthrow Putin. The exact opposite is happening.
Yeah,
go ahead.
I wanted to ask you because I keep hearing it in the American media from the the neocons. I have to use that phrase because it's easy to know who they are. Even though I've been called one before, I'm not. But the neocon talking heads, former generals usually, are out there. They've all of a sudden started kind of nuancing their discussion about, well, Ukrainians could win this now. Have you noticed that?
Oh, big time. My
Yeah.
colleague Pete Blaber and we do a podcast every week. He's former Delta Force commander at all levels, and where we have the same view of the world. And we've talked about that over and over. These generals that are captured by the blob, for lack of a better word, that want this war to continue. And this is NATO running this war. And this is, I think the U.S. has to look at our entire structure in Europe. I think Trump is doing that slowly. You're seeing a lot of moves. I think, was it this week, he turned over something in NATO to the Europeans. I forget the exact title of the office, but that is a process that's going forward. I think it needs to move faster because I don't think they have our best interests in heart, and we don't want to be the backstop for their bad decisions in their warmongering. I mean, we could have a peace treaty. We could go in and say, this is the line. It's going to stay here. Maybe there's a little change on either side. Stop the fighting and let's work out a deal as to where the exact demarcation line is. I mean, that deal could be done, I think. But the problem is now you're getting strikes into Russia at very high value targets. The Russians are feeling it and they're getting angry. And so,
yeah, along with that strike on the bomber base, there's a refinery close to there, an oil refinery that's pretty dramatic amount of production when you look at the numbers.
Put yourself in Putin's place, or the people around him, the Praetorian Guard. They look at further and further strikes into Russia. They say we're winning on the ground in Ukraine. That is a fact. They just took Konstantinovka. I mean, they are moving forward, and Ukraine is not taking territory. They can't stop the Russian advance. So Ukraine is lashing out at high value targets inside of Russia. If you were the Kremlin military planners and you said, well, all these things are being made in Poland or the UK or Germany, we need to take these out. I mean, we're getting close to that point, and I don't want that. And I'm not pro-Russia. I'm just pro-reality. That's what's going to happen. And then you've got World War III, and that's why we can't be on the hook to support Europe for their bad decisions.
Yeah, last week, it was reported anyway that some type of Russian asset, I don't know if it was a drone, a cruise missile, or one of their medium-range ballistic missiles, hit Poland. It landed in Poland and detonated, I think. But it was in the field. Doesn't appear that it was targeted near anything substantial. And that's happened before. But when you have the dynamic of firing deep into Russia at strategic targets like the bomber bases and oil refineries, you combine that with, the Russian Navy ship in the Caspian Sea, that's a legitimate target. Even the Iranian cargo ship is kind of a legitimate target, especially from our perspective, if it was bringing Russian stuff there. But the Ukrainians aren't involved in the whole Iran thing. And mixing the two there and then combining it with the strategic thing, it just doesn't tell the truth about what's really happened. And you just did. I was going to ask you about it, about what was still happening on the ground, and the Russians are still moving forward on the ground.
Yes.
I mean,
and
there's nothing stopping them.
You see a lot of stuff on social media of Ukrainians en masse saying, we're coming for Iran. And I mean, what they had built in Ukraine is a mercenary army. It's turning into a robot army in a big way. It's going to be a very dangerous thing sitting in the middle of Europe. I don't think it's going to be used for good. They've depopulated the Ukrainian. I mean, there's a video out this morning of the bounty hunters coming in to grab a guy in Dnipro, I think, and 3 women in the family come out to save him. They shoot one of the women. They run over the other woman with a car, and they pepper spray the third one. I mean, this is what we're fighting for? This is what we're supporting? I mean, that is evil. So, there's no excuse for that. And so that is happening over and over and over. So you're literally depopulating the Christian population in Ukraine on both sides. And I think that's the end goal. And they're going to move in. It's going to be the first African European nation.
Yeah. Yeah. And I had a question, but I lost it. The population in the Donbass, that's primarily Russian. They're not all Russian, but they primarily are. Are those the majority, the young men? Are they being drafted into the army on the Russian side and fighting there? Or have they all been killed off already?
Well, I don't know the specifics in Donbass, but they are mobilized into the Russian forces, yes.
Okay.
And Putin has been very, I would say, cautious on the mobilization, because obviously that has societal impact. He's brought in North Koreans, he's brought in Africans, he's brought in mercenaries too. I'm not saying he's not doing that, but it's not the level that Ukraine is. Ukraine is running out of people. They literally don't have the manpower anymore. And I think that's intentional. So they're creating, ask yourself, if this massive army that wants a war with Russia, it can look westward too. I mean, if you look at what's going on with the EU with all the censorship and all this, you could make the case that they're building some kind of enforcement mechanism in Ukraine for the rest of Europe. So I just find it very, very dark.
Yeah. We're going to take a break, but when we come back, we're going to see a clip about the president canceling the Iran strikes. But I want to ask you a couple more questions about this Ukraine, especially the robotic autonomous force that we have just heard about being used. We'll be right back with L. Todd Wood, CEO of CDM Press.
Take a look at the water you just poured. It looks clean. It tastes fine. But what's really in it? Lead, fluoride, arsenic, chlorine, pesticides, PFAS forever chemicals, pharmaceutical residues, and bacteria. Every single day, these toxins flow straight from your tap into your glass, into your family. It's time for Sentry H2O from Worldview Water. Sentry H2O is the ultimate water treatment technology, designed to remove harmful toxins, balance your water's pH, and enrich it with essential minerals like calcium and magnesium, the way nature intended. From commercial-scale systems to whole house filtration to crisp, delicious drinking water right at your kitchen sink and shower, Sentry H2O delivers cleaner, healthier water everywhere you need it. No plumber, no tools, no plumbing knowledge required. Perfect for homes, apartments, rentals, RVs, refrigerators, and more. Because everyone deserves access to clean, healthy water. Visit worldviewwater.net. That's worldviewwater.net.
President Trump is pausing massive strikes against Iran, at least for now, but the president cautions all this depends on how quickly a deal can be reached. ABC's Matt Rivers reports from Jordan tonight.
Tonight, President Trump backing away from the brink, calling off planned massive strikes on Iran. Overnight Saturday, posting on social media, saying he canceled the attack subject to being able to rapidly make a deal, adding the perimeters of a deal had been agreed to. A far different tone from Friday.
We'll be hitting them very hard. And, at some point they're going to say, we just can't take it anymore.
But Trump saying that Iran and regional U.S. allies alike had since asked him to hold off, claiming any deal would include reopening the Strait of Hormuz and address Iran's nuclear threat. But nearly 24 hours later, no formal response yet from Iran's government. An Iranian state-run media saying no such deal to reopen the strait had been reached. It remains effectively closed. Prior to Trump's announcement, Iranian media said the foreign minister had warned regional countries of harsh retaliation should the U.S. follow through on its threat to target Iranian energy facilities. After state-run oil facilities were targeted in a drone attack earlier this week, the renewed Iranian threat sparked Saudi Arabia's leadership to publicly urge the White House to de-escalate after Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman spoke to President Trump. Those fears include not just a wider war in the Middle East, but increasing signs that the conflict between Ukraine and Russia is starting to overlap with the Iran conflict. Last week, Ukraine attacking an Iranian cargo ship in the Caspian Sea it said was carrying military supplies.
Lindsay, many here in this part of the world assumed that they would spend today taking cover from new rounds of missiles being fired. That didn't happen, but it's still not at all clear that an actual deal between the two sides is within reach.
Welcome back to the Rob Maness Show. It's More War Monday, and August 3rd, and that video was from August 2nd, just so you know. My guest today is L. Todd Wood, CEO of CDM Press, just back from Lebanon, so we'll hear from him on that specific issue in the next segment. But, Todd, what are your thoughts on the president canceling the strikes again? This is the second time, I think.
We don't have the land or ground forces to conquer Iran in a ground war. We just don't. I think we have to move to some kind of containment into phase 2 of this. We've heavily damaged them. Let's declare victory. Blockade the strait if you need to. Have escorts for ships if you need to. Keep it open. Keep the oil flowing. Build the pipelines across the desert. Make it less of a threat as far as oil, cutting off the oil, and contain them. We contained the Russians for 50 years or 80 years, whatever it was. The Soviet Union. So I think we need to move to something like that. We're not going to get a victory in the absolute sense here because, it's a very disorganized, decentralized government. And my sense is we need to support, as you and I have talked to many times, support the people on the ground that can actually make change in Iran. We know who they are. And let's just create the conditions for them to be successful. I think that's all we can do at this point. We can't have an absolute surrender. It's not going to happen, in my view.
I don't think that. I think that's why it was never one of the objectives.
Yeah,
as far as I know. I mean, it'd be nice to have. You and I've talked about that. It'd be nice to have. Have you heard about any? Let me pause right there on the Iran thing because I screwed up again, and I wanted to ask you about this report that I saw, but I couldn't confirm it, so I didn't use the video. I saw a video report of Ukrainian combat operation using a combination of robotic and autonomous surface vessels, subsurface vessels, air drones, that kind of thing. And then this new one that was added to it, ground combat robots. And the reporting that I saw said it was they were networked together, and the combat operation that they were involved in was successful from Ukraine's perspective. I couldn't verify anything, so I didn't use the video. But have you heard about that reporting? And have you been your team's pretty good at doing verification on things. Have you guys verified any of this stuff?
What I'll say is they are definitely testing and fielding all that stuff and building that capability. I don't know the specific instance you're talking about. I didn't see that, but that is definitely happening. And to me, that's a big concern because in my view, you've got a very dark regime. I mean, Zelensky's not an elected president. He has no legal mandate. He's destroying the Christian church. He's, depopulating the country. He's doing whatever the globalists tell him to do. And to give him some kind of AI autonomous robot army that is effective, to me, is insane. And also, while we're at it, I don't think any licensing of U.S. technology to Ukraine is a good idea either. Because, they could flip that, as Trump said, you could flip that back on you. What is the purpose of that? I mean, let's just back out of that. If Europe wants to continue it, let it have it. And if they want to deal with the consequences of that war, let them have it. But we're not going to come save you again for the third time because of your stupidity. And whatever this is, whatever agenda, whatever dark agenda this is, it's not good for humanity.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up the licensing thing. I thought I heard the president say we were going to license them to produce Patriot missiles. Is that accurate?
He said that. I think, look, there's a lot in it. I talked with someone inside as well. There's a lot of, don't believe everything you hear. There's a lot of jockeying for position, and he may have said that. Then he said, well, there's a problem with giving people weapons. They could use them back on you. He's kind of being very strategic ambiguity there as well. I think he may have said, we'll think about it. And Zelensky came out and said, yeah, we're going to do it. So I don't think it's a done deal. I have heard from my sources that Boeing said no. So we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, he's doing a similar thing with the Turks and the F-35. He remember, folks, this is the P.T. Barnum of presidencies. That's who this man is. He's better than P.T. Barnum. So he will, he made his sales pitch. Hey, we're going to give them the F-35 because they've done good. And then I saw a follow-up report almost immediately that said, yep, and they've got to do these things. Boom, get rid of the S-300, 400, not allow any Russian advisors on their soil, which are the things that I talked about when I first heard the report on this show. And everything. So, I mean, that's just the way the president is. Getting back to the Iran war, look, I mean, regardless, fortunately, we've never set a goal of getting the Iranians to capitulate. The only way to stop this, I have said it many times, is the IRGC has to capitulate in one way or another. And the only way for us to achieve our ultimate strategic goal, which is to get the uranium the enriched uranium and the capability to enrich it out of their hands so they can't develop or get a nuclear weapon is for us to be able to go in and get it and get them to agree to do that. I mean, that's the only way. I mean, I think for a ground invasion of that country, it would take 1 million trigger pullers plus support.
Yeah.
So you're talking about a couple million people.
Exactly. And even if you put them on Karg Island, even if you put them on Karg Island, you're going to need more than just that, because you're going to have that whole coastline is a nest of vipers that you're going to have to deal with, and so that they would just be shooting targets. So you got to really, that's got to be thought through, and I hope that doesn't happen. My vote is for containment and to find a way to declare a victory, and let's focus on the election and everything else.
Well, yeah, let's talk about that. What would that look like? I mean, we contained Saddam Hussein, with a northern and southern no-fly zone. So they couldn't attack the Kurds in the north and the Kuwaitis and the folks in the marshes in the south by air or ground. We stop them on the ground using our aircraft and those kind of things. Why not just establish a no-fly zone over the entire country?
Well, that's an option. Or, the Israelis have been very effective over the decades of taking out any arms coming into the country. We could target Chinese shipments coming in, or Russian shipments, or whatever. I mean, you could keep the country degraded militarily without, the deaths of thousands of Americans on the ground and the loss of much more treasure than we have to spend. So that's my vote for containment. And, I just think we're at that point. We need to look at the election. We need to look at rebuilding our stores, our stockpiles, our capabilities, which I know the Department of War is focused 1,000% on. So that's happening, and let's get our house in order and be able to deal with other things that may come down the road. You and I are old enough to remember when we're ready to fight 2 wars at once. We're not that way anymore. We need to get back to that.
Yeah, we do need to get back to that. That's why the secretary is asking for another $500 billion to go along with the last year's defense budget. As much as I'm not a fan of increasing the defense budget, I'm more for cutting and make them make it work. But we're not to where we need to be in order to start doing that because we've let it go so long, right?
Yeah, and we're using all these, and this is changing too, but all these, high dollar prime contractors that, I saw something today, $3 billion over budget. I think it was the B-52 program. That doesn't need to happen anymore. We have smart contractors now that can build things cheaply in scale. That is happening. Yeah. I know that's happening. So
Anduril said they were going to produce 7,000 low-cost cruise missiles in their first year of production.
Yep.
Next year. 7,000. We can't produce over 900 of regular cruise missiles.
And look at what Ukraine and Russia are doing. They're lobbing 600 a night at each other, different projectiles. So it's a numbers game, right?
Yeah.
And we can't be spending millions of dollars on each one. Just can't happen.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we got a question in the audience. Let's go ahead and take that. Let's see if this technology will work this time. Go ahead, Joe.
We have Kat the Hammer, sir. I'll make it real quick. I just wanted to ask you both. Knowing that Trump's kind of an all or nothing kind of guy, at least he kind of comes across that way to me, do you think he would accept a 20 or 30-year complete cease on their nuclear program? I think it's good enough for containment. I agree with you. I just want to know what you guys thought.
I think he would. What do you think, Rob? I think he would.
I don't know. He's been really adamant, and it's part of the goals to remove the enriched uranium and the capability to enrich from them so they can never get a nuclear weapon. That's probably, in my mind, he will probably make that a red line. That has to be the red line because it's the most dangerous. It's the reason why we're there. The rest of it, they really can't threaten us, and we don't get any oil out of the Strait of Hormuz anymore like we did in the 80s and those kind of things. And now the allies are starting to build more pipelines so they don't have to use the what do they call it? The Arabian Gulf now? The Persian Gulf. The Persian Gulf to get oil out for the allies and those kind of things. So, I think he could let all that stuff go, and with a blockade and air containment, we could keep them, suppressed, obviously, and they couldn't threaten their neighbors other than just harassment type fires. Same thing with shipping. That's all they're doing now is just harassment type stuff. This whole thing about the Strait of Hormuz being closed is it's BS. It's not true. Yeah. It's never been true. They don't have the capability. They didn't have the capability before, and they definitely don't have the capability now to close the Strait of Hormuz. But they can do harassing fire. And I think I would like to see, before he pulls the plug on it, and we fall back to something like full blockades, and an air containment type thing. I would like to see him fulfill the entire ATO, the whole target list, at least once. And we've not done that. What does that look like? There's still a little about 20% left. That's all the strategic bridges, the big power plants, all of that has to be destroyed at least once. So they have to get to work to rebuild the stuff, those kind of things to keep them busy. But in the meantime, a blockade and keeping the bridges around the perimeter cut, blocking the Caspian seaport, those kinds of things, so that they can't be resupplied with military stuff. I think that's doable. Now, is it politically doable? That's another big question. It would be if he gets the nuclear material. Yeah. If he gets it, it would be politically doable in the short term. Let's put it that way. Short term being a few years. Yeah. So, give the Allies a chance to do what they need to do to make themselves comfortable before we completely pull out, because there's a lot of us that have been calling for a pullout of the Middle East for quite some time now. The only thing stopping us right now is the Iran war, to be honest with you. Yeah, that's true. We're going to take another break. When we come back, we'll talk about Lebanon. And Todd's been there on a trip. So we'll be right back with Todd Wood.
At a certain age, you stop chasing younger. You start protecting what helps you feel steady, strong, and well. Your body's collagen matters. It supports the structure of your skin, joints, and connective tissue. But as the years go by, your body needs more support from the inside. That's where Bella Grace Elixir comes in. Bella Grace Elixir combines Verisol collagen, the world's most clinically proven collagen, with Astereal astaxanthin and cat's claw in a proprietary blend designed to help support the processes that reconstruct collagen, while also offering antioxidant and anti-inflammatory effects. And this isn't just for women. It's for men and women who want to age with more confidence, more care, and a daily wellness routine that supports the body from within. One simple elixir, thoughtfully formulated for whole body wellness. Take care of the body that has carried you this far. Order Bella Grace Elixir today at melissahousebg.com.
The Israeli military has said that it has killed several Hezbollah fighters in southern Lebanon and that an Israeli soldier was injured there despite a ceasefire being in place. Well, in a statement, the military said that it identified Hezbollah fighters inside what Israel describes as a security zone and carried out strikes to, quote-unquote, remove the threat. The statement added that the Israeli forces will continue to operate to remove any threat to its soldiers, and it will not allow the Hezbollah to arm Israeli civilians. This comes at a time when the United Nations has expressed concerns over Israeli actions. The Office of the UN Special Coordinator for Lebanon said that the scale of the detonations and demolitions taking place is deeply concerning, with a devastating impact on civilian infrastructure, cultural heritage, and the collective memory of communities. This after the Israeli military carried out large detonations near a UNESCO-listed castle in Lebanon. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Defense Secretary Israel Katz said that the army destroyed terror tunnels in the Beaufort area using approximately 700 tons of explosives. Beaufort Castle was added last week to UNESCO's list of World Heritage in danger. A US-sponsored framework agreement signed by Lebanon and Israel in late June. It aims to end hostilities with Lebanon's army to disarm Hezbollah and the Israeli military to withdraw from pilot zones inside Lebanon, where Lebanese forces will subsequently deploy. Hezbollah has repeatedly rejected the deal and refuses to disarm, while there is no timetable for Israel's full withdrawal.
Welcome back to the Rob Maness Show. We're live on Worldview Tube and our X Spaces simulcast. My guest today is former Special Ops helicopter pilot, president and CEO of CDM Press, L. Todd Wood, and a frequent traveler to parts of the world most Americans wouldn't go right now. And you just spent some time in Lebanon. Todd, tell us about your trip first before we dive into the clip about the recent going on.
Sure. We are working closely with the Christian population in Lebanon, the Christian sector, which is, in my view, very important to, and we started this just to kind of be their bully pulpit to talk about their issues because nobody really is. And the U.S. has been a little bit nefarious toward them over the last few decades, too, because they've been used as buffer zones or whatever. Nobody's really looking out for their interests. And so that's what we're doing. We're opening a media company over there. We're going to have a new online entity, mainly for the Lebanese diaspora, because there's 15 million of them, and weirdly enough, they can all vote in Lebanese politics. It's a huge thing, and so that's what we're working on, and that's why I was there. In addition to meeting a lot of people and sources and all of that, and so my main goal over there is to, I guess, be a mouthpiece for that population. Not in a foreign agent kind of way, but just as a good reporting kind of way. Just be there and talk about what's going on the ground on those with that community and the issues around it. Hezbollah to the south is very ensconced, and we also need to understand the history, right? History is important, and Lebanon has always been a refuge for minority communities, and that's why the Christians came there in the mountains, Mount Lebanon, to get away from the invading Arab armies, and then the Ottomans and all of that. And it was kind of but the Shia Muslims also came in there. And so you have that sector, but you also have the Hezbollah element, which is, an Iranian proxy army, obviously, in the south. And so it's a very complicated situation. And the Lebanese government simply doesn't have the power to disarm them. They just don't. It's 40% of the Lebanese armed forces. So the U.S., in my view, instead of knocking down the Christian community over and over and over again, for instance, during the Gulf War, Bush 1 came in and said, we'll let Syria come invade you if you join us against Saddam. Well, we didn't need Syria to join us against Saddam. I mean, it was nice, I guess, on paper, but the Christian community just got thrown under the bus. So that's if we focus on them and make them a lot stronger, I think we will find a solution in Lebanon, because I think they will be able to work with the Shia elements in country, because they're not going away either. And there's a lot of Syrian and Sunni, Shia and Sunni refugees from Syria in Lebanon that need to go home. That's another thing the U.S. could do, is bring them back into Syria. The Syrian war's over, but there's a lot of NGOs keeping them there. I mean, it's very similar to what's happening in Europe and in the U.S., where in the Christian areas, you're having an enabled immigrant population come in and then paid for and all of that. So it's very, I see it as diabolical. So my goal is to really just, if you can empower that community in Lebanon, I think you'll see a good, strong Christian community in the U.S., in the Middle East, and that will open doors, in my opinion, to solve some of these problems.
Yeah, historically, Lebanon was the only majority Christian country for many centuries.
Correct.
And then the Palestinian refugees were allowed to come in.
That's
the
what started. Right? They brought in 500,000, and that started the Civil War. And it was downhill from there. And then you had the explosion in the Beirut port, which many think was intentional by some group. And then you have a color revolution in 2019 with George Soros to destroy the financial sector and the currency and the central bank. And so it's been an ongoing series of attacks on them. And I think the best thing the U.S. could do is step up and say, this is where Christ walked. This is the first Christians. These are the descendants. We're going to make sure they stay in the Levant.
So Lebanon's government, the president, I think he's a Christian and a combat veteran, wounded even, if I remember right. He's signed up to replacing Hezbollah in the south, but he he doesn't have the capability to do that. How does he do that? Oh, I think we might have lost him. Mr. Producer, can you hear me? Yeah, we'll see if we can get it back. Did you answer that question? I mean, that's been the rub, folks, for the whole time I was in the U.S. military, all the way from when the U.S. went in with Marines and we got a bunch of people killed in the Bekaa Valley in Beirut. We've had military officers kidnapped and skinned alive by these people, Christians, persecuted, and those kind of things. So, Todd, you're back. Hey, I was asking you a question. The question was, the president of Lebanon, he's a combat veteran. I think he's even been wounded, so he understands military force. He gets it. He has signed up to replacing Hezbollah in the south. But how does he do that if he doesn't have the capability?
We need to help that capability. And sorry, we have some construction going on, and we had some power blinking out here, so that's what happened. But I think the U.S. needs to support the Lebanese military. We really don't. They don't have the capability to disarm them at this point. It's kind of like baby steps. There's 2 areas that the Israelis are going to withdraw from, and the Lebanese forces are going to go in and try to pacify those areas. I think there's a deal to be made. Especially with Iran in a much weakened state. You see this with, the deal with Hamas in Gaza. I mean, that there may be some progress there. It's a little hard to tell, but you could see a similar situation in the Levant, and I hope that can happen. But yes, Joseph Aoun is a combat veteran, and I know a lot of those veterans. In fact, I was staying in Beirut, and the houses and buildings are very close together, and the one right across my balcony was pockmarked with bullet holes from the Civil War. So it's very fresh in people's minds, and it was devastating for the Christian community.
Yeah, and I don't think the regular Lebanese people hate the Israelis either.
No, they don't.
I've never understood why the Israeli haven't been able to bring their capabilities to bear to help the Lebanese army too, because I mean they have every inch of that southern place up to the river at least and beyond. I'm sure. Mapped, so to speak, and everything's both above the ground and underground. I think they have a lot of mapping.
Yes, of course.
And they have struck an agreement with the Lebanese government. Any hope that that's going to be there? Because I think they're better than us in the human
they
intelligence
have a very
world
good
and that
intelligence, very good intelligence network. I mean, Lebanon is not a sovereign country. I mean, I was there, and I put it on X a few times. There's an Israeli drone flying overhead the whole time I'm there, eating dinner outside in the cafe. I mean, they're surveilling constantly. So it is, the Israelis have the capability. I think there needs to be a way to give sovereignty to Lebanon, but also deal with the threats militarily. I'm not sure exactly what that looks like, but I do know that strengthening the Christian community is a big part of that, because you're right. They're not anti-Israel per se. They don't want to be used as a buffer zone and to accept like another million refugees. It's going to harm their demographics and their power structure in the country, but they're not anti-Israel, as a rule.
You mentioned the Sunni and Shia refugees from Syria. I would think that al-Jilani, the new president of Syria, would want to get those folks back and strengthen his population.
This is a big issue, and this is what the Lebanese are worried about. I'll tell you right now, there's 2 million Sunni refugees from Syria in Lebanon because of the Syrian civil war that were fleeing the Assad regime. They're paid to stay there. They don't want to go back. Lebanon's a beautiful, very nice, sophisticated, nice place for the most part. And so they don't want to go back. And one of the big things the U.S. could do is say, you're going back. We kind of control Golani, I think, or al-Shura, or whatever his name is. But yes, you would think he would want those people back. And the Lebanese are very worried about that because like a lot of the Latins and other immigrant communities in the U.S., the Shia and the Sunni are embedded throughout all Lebanese society, cutting the grass, doing things that need to be done, and because a lot of them are on the dole or whatever, and so it's a big problem. They're scared that it's essentially a jihadi network in country that needs to be returned to Syria, and I hope.
Yeah. So does Hezbollah recruit from these Shia refugee populations? I'm assuming Hezbollah is mostly Shiite.
I'm told that's a spy network, right?
Yeah.
Because if you've got Shia throughout the communities doing, embedded in the Christian community, because Christians have all the money, right? Because they're successful, they're entrepreneurial. The other populations don't. Now, that's not a hard and fast rule. There are some very big oligarchs in the Shia and Sunni communities in Lebanon, but for the most part, the Christians are the ones that are economically self-reliant and successful. So yes, they're worried about that as kind of a spy network throughout their whole community as well.
Yeah. You don't think that there's going to be any plans to put like U.S. peacekeeping forces in place? I mean, the UN's tried that stuff in southern Lebanon for decades now. It's an absolute failure. I mean, Hezbollah puts their capabilities underneath their foxholes.
Yeah, it's. I hope we are smart enough to not do that anymore. Look, you mentioned it. The Christian, they're fighters. I mean, they're fine with protecting themselves. You just got to make them stronger and stop trying to weaken them, and stop trying to weaken their economy. Because you've seen, if you look back through history, in the 70s, there was no problem with a lot of this stuff when you had a strong Christian community. So you move back to that when you started weakening the Christians. That's when all this other stuff started happening. So
Absolutely.
my sense is, if you can make that community stronger, keep them in the structure of power in the government that is, you don't have to give all the power to them, but keep them in a majority, power position, then I think a lot of good things will happen.
Yeah, I think so. It's just a matter of, we just have to do it. Have to get it done. All right, we got to take one more break. When we come back, we'll see a little clip on the way back in of the Egyptian port where a U.S. gas holding platform was struck along with an Egyptian LNG, liquefied natural gas transport ship. They think by a drone. We'll be right back with L. Todd Wood.
You woke up with a sore throat and a low-grade fever. You know you are getting sick, so here's your choices. You can get sicker and miss work. Try to see a doctor this week, or sit hours in a crowded waiting room at urgent care.
I have a smarter option for you. Open your medical emergency kit. Match your symptoms to doctor-recommended prescription in your booklet and take the right meds now and get well faster.
This is not a first aid kit. It's like having an urgent care in your home. It includes doctor-prescribed medications to treat over 39 medical issues like respiratory infections, strep throat, pneumonia, UTIs, and more.
No waiting to see the doctor and no standing in line at the pharmacy. It's right here.
Every home should have at least one medical emergency kit, and here's how to order.
Go to worldviewhealthcare.com. Your kit to treat dozens of common and serious illnesses is rushed to your door. worldviewhealthcare.com. That's worldviewhealthcare.com.
The emergency kit available at worldviewhealthcare.com. Make sure you don't have to go to urgent care. I got pneumonia. I didn't have to go. I took this last year. Stayed at home. Went to bed.
When yesterday we saw the headlines that something has been hit in the port of Damietta, which is on the Mediterranean, I mean, the first reaction was like, it's too far away from the conflict zone. It's far away from Iran, it's far away from Yemen, it's far away, quite honestly, from many places in the battle zone, but the significance of this development is immense. What was happening in the past 6 months when the US attacked Iran and Iran retaliated was that the military actions have shut the Strait of Hormuz. The Strait of Hormuz in the Gulf is the world's most important oil evacuation route. It is responsible for roughly 17% of global oil supply. Saudi Arabia was preparing for this crisis for many, many years, if not decades. Because Saudi Arabia strategically has built a pipeline towards the Red Sea. So Saudi Arabia was able to reroute oil to the port of Yanbu on the Red Sea. From there, it was sending tankers down south to supply Asian clients via the very narrow Bab el-Mandeb Strait. Now, the problem became even bigger when the Houthis said they would join the fight, attack Saudi Arabia, and we've seen drones and missiles being fired at various tankers in Bab el-Mandeb. As a result, the only safe route Saudi Arabia was left with was to send oil up north in the Red Sea towards the Suez Canal in Egypt. So yesterday attack on the port Damietta is very, very close to the Suez Canal. So everyone in the oil market has been asking, what does it mean for the Suez Canal? And of course, we've seen insurance and shipping rate spikes. Everyone's concerned that the next target might be the Suez.
The Rob Maness Show. It's More War Monday. We're live on Worldview Tube and our X Spaces simulcast. And my guest today is CEO of CDM Press and a former Special Operations helicopter pilot, Todd Wood. Todd, Damietta, I don't think a lot of people really understand this, but Damietta is a port on the Mediterranean Sea in Egypt. It's not in the Suez Canal, and it's not in the Red Sea, and it's well beyond where the Houthis have been. So whatever hit this platform and that ship had to get past a lot of air defense capability.
Do we know it was a projectile, or could it have been on a ship or something?
We don't know. I mean, it's very fuzzy reporting. The Iranians, I couldn't find anything where they had taken responsibility, but they were getting a lot of blame for it. Yeah.
Well,
the drone reports is what I kept coming across when I was researching. Something happened.
Interesting. I mean, if you talk with all the Promethean action people, they think that there's a much bigger conflict going on here of really redrawing a lot of the financial and resource allocation zones and routing across the world. So it could be part of that. I mean, I don't know a lot about that situation. I do know that, you could even make a cause. And whoever's doing all this is thinking long term. You look at the port explosion in Beirut. I mean, I don't think that was organic. I mean, it was obviously, they say it was due to some ammonium nitrate in the harbor, but there was a lot of funky stuff going on with that, beforehand. So, and I know other stuff. So I don't think that was organic. So, there is an agenda. I'm not quite sure what it is, but things are changing as far as who gets access to what and how it's moved. That I can tell you.
Yeah, and that stretch of strategic movement spots all the way from the Med out through the Bam el Beb. I mess up the pronunciation. Straight down where the Yemen is and Somaliland. I mean, that's coming under increasingly threat. The Houthis fired on a couple of Saudi ships and say they're going to blockade the Saudis from reaching their ports, those kind of things. Well, we got a question in the audience. Let's take that since we're in the last segment. Go ahead, Bill.
We have AJ, sir.
Thank you, Shell. Thank you, Colonel. Mr. Wood, it's always a pleasure, sir. My question pertains to Islamic Republic of Iran. They are known to lose $500 million a day, and this is a massive financial bleeding. Desperate times call for desperate measures, and my fear is that this is going to push them to try to purchase a nuclear capability in the context of tactical nukes. What is the reality if you can contribute to this concern? That I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Well, I think that's a possibility. I mean, I wouldn't put it past the Iranians. I think the president obviously knows a lot more than we do, and has probably taken all of those possibilities into account with what he's doing. The Khan network out of Pakistan is, shut down, but I'm sure there are other avenues. The Chinese are supplying them with, man pads essentially, which can be very effective against civilian aircraft, against our aircraft. So that is where the intelligence comes in, and I simply don't have my TSSCI clearance anymore, so I don't know. But I hope that the president knows what's going on there and would deal with it. What do you think, Rob?
Yeah, you forgot. Well, you didn't forget, but you didn't mention the North Koreans too. So they're friends with 4 nuclear powers, I believe. The Russians, the Chinese, the Pakistanis, and the North Koreans. As far as I know, I mean, this is just all open source stuff. I don't have I don't have a CI clearance anymore either, or anything else for that matter that would relate to this stuff. But all of those entities have gone in and out of Iran. And of all of the ones that I would not put it past them, it would be Pakistan or the North Koreans.
That's what I was going to say. The Russians and the Chinese wouldn't do that, but it's possible. I would say primarily some type of Arab route or Central Asian route. That would be my guess if that did happen.
Yeah, we got to remember the Pakistanis hid Osama bin Laden in a villa a stone's throw away from their national military academy. Fortunately for the Pakistanis, the nuclear side of their operation has been kept in. I wouldn't say they're completely non-religious hands, but they're not in Islamic fundamentalist hands. Their nuclear forces are not, at least so far, anyway. But the land route from Pakistan via Afghanistan and into Iran is famously difficult to surveil, difficult to defend. I mean, we owned the airspace there, and we could not stop them from resupplying through those mountains consistently down into the Taliban and the Al Qaeda network, the Haqqani network, and all that. Because they're using mules, a lot of them, and backpacks. They walk.
Sure, it's
very they don't carry a cell phone with them. You can track their signal every day. They have some capability, but you got to be looking for it to find their signals. And the terrain is just massive terrain. I've flown in it day and night at low altitude and high speed, and it's just very, very challenging. I don't think most people understand, Todd, that don't study this stuff and aren't professionals in it, just how challenging the Earth is as a system, as a machine. From the weather, obviously the climate change nets think that man's activities can affect the weather systems.
And flying low level, at night in the mountains in bad weather is a young man's game.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is a young man's game. But it's like finding a needle in the haystack unless you've got like a spy sitting on the guy that's carrying the backpack with the bomb in it.
Sure.
Because that's literally what they would have to do, and the capabilities are there around the world. So is it possible? Yeah, they're fanatics. I don't think they'll ever stop trying to get a nuclear bomb of some sort. The question is, do they have them now? Where they just hadn't been able to mate it to deliver a reliable delivery system that was accurate enough for them, and we disrupted it, or are they going to buy one, or are they planning on buying one from North Korea and transiting it through Pakistan and Afghanistan? There's a lot of big questions in that, but they're all possible to do.
Sure. Yeah, I don't think there's any doubt about that. Of course.
Yeah. So with this hit on the LNG platform, the U.S. one, and the tanker out there, the Egyptian tanker, the Houthis have never fired anything from their range past Israel that I'm aware of. Have they ever been?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. They would be the likely source, but other than any other kind of ingress route,
I'm more devious than that. See, I think it's probably a container, either at a dock, or on a ship, somewhere close enough where it would be underneath all the radar.
I would think you're probably right. Yeah.
Because these things are just so easy. That's the other thing. What's your take, real quick, before we get to the end of the last minute here? What's your take on our drone capability. It's been about, I think, probably 6 or 7 months since we talked about that, or our drone defense capability. Have we seen any improvements in actuality on the ground in the combat zones, or are we still pretty much where we were at?
I think we're playing catch up. Unfortunately, since the lawsuit with the New York Times and the Pentagon Press Corps, we haven't been able to get in the building for months now, and so we're kind of frozen out. So I haven't had the same kind of access to people as I did before. So my sense is, though, we're catching up and building new capabilities, but we're still probably, in the catch-up mode.
Yeah.
That's kind of where I'm thinking.
Is there any news on the lawsuit thing? I thought that there was a decision that turned
There
that over.
was, but I haven't. I mean, the Pentagon went quiet. I mean, I used to get 50 emails a day. I might get 1 or 2 now. It's just, I think they just said, well, until we've resolved this, and I can't even, I have credentials, but I can't even go into buildings. So unless I'm escorted. So, it just doesn't, there's no briefings. I mean, they shut down the room that we've worked in.
Okay.
So it's kind of been quiet, and there's no trips. I mean, I flew out with Hexeth, that shut down too. It's unfortunate.
It is unfortunate because there was some good reporting going on that people were starting to get confidence back, both in the institution and in the institution of the press that was being allowed to do their business. Well, Todd, I appreciate it. Hopefully they'll overcome that soon. But I just got reports before we came on the air that the war plan for Iran was leaked. That's the real reason why the president delayed any operation. But we'll see how whether that turns out to be true or not. It's not verified.
Interesting.
Todd Wood, folks. Thanks, my friend. I appreciate it.
Anytime. Tell your audience, go to cdm.press, put us in your scan. It would help us a lot. Thank you very much.
All right. You bet. He's got a lot of international and domestic media publications, cdm.press. Go check it out. Thanks to L. Todd Wood. And tomorrow, Joshua Lysick, who is an author of Unhumans, and he's got a new book out because he's from Ohio, and he's writing on the Haitian that were placed there in Springfield, Ohio. This is going to be really the heat interview. I'll see you then.
You've heard of glutathione, the body's master antioxidant. It fights free radicals, boosts your immune system, and powers every cell in your body. But here's the problem. Traditional IV glutathione treatments, they're expensive, time-consuming, and they break down in your body in just 90 minutes. That means repeat visits, repeat needles, and repeat bills. There's a better way. It's called NutraSwish. NutraSwish uses hydrostat delivery, micro-sized glutathione particles your body absorbs more efficiently with a sustained release that keeps antioxidant protection working hour after hour. No needles, no clinics, no sky-high costs. Just swish and go. Every dose delivers a powerful blend of glutathione, L-cysteine, vitamin C, and curcumin, supporting your immune system, fighting inflammation, and helping your body produce natural energy from the inside out. And it tastes great, with a pleasant hint of peppermint. Whether you're battling fatigue, supporting your immune health, or just want to feel your absolute best, NutraSwish makes it simple, affordable, and convenient. Visit swishforlife.com today, that's swishforlife.com, and discover what the master antioxidant can really do. NutraSwish. Swish, absorb, thrive.
Welcome to the 5th episode of Islam Questions and Answers. I am your host, Farah Prudence from VoxPopuli.News.net, and with me is my forever amazing co-host, Miss Inez Annie Cyrus. On this episode, we're going to answer 3 questions. We're going to try and keep the time down, but we're also going to answer the questions as best as we can. These questions are more cultural questions, so it'll be a fun, different episode. Annie, are you ready to tackle some of these?
Oh, I am.
Awesome. Let's do it. First question. My son went to a high school where there were many Muslims. Most of the girls had hijabs on, but 99% of these girls had the snug Western jeans. Can you explain? It seems that Sharia Islam law is not real. Most people will say, well, the dress basically is the same and they act basically the same. That's your question, Annie.
Okay. Can I explain it? No. Can I come up with all the excuses I was taught? Yes, I can. So basically, one thing is, as we mentioned and covered on other episodes, in Quran, one other thing that is specifically mentioned is for the woman to wear the hijab down to their neck. Because that's very specific. So when it comes to the head cover, they basically do the head cover perfectly. All of them the same. They cover the entire thing. But then the rest of the body, at least I can say in Iran today, a lot of women you see, they wear tight, kind of tight jeans, a little shorter overcoat, just because as long as you're covered, you're covered. And as long as your, assets are not showing, you're good to go. So that's the part that they did find the loophole and they're kind of using it. But at the end of the day, if they were living in an Islamic country, they couldn't do that. See, one of the reasons me and Farah constantly say, really, you want to walk around here and say, I'm a Muslim woman who's free? Take a trip to Islamic countries and I say the same thing. Because a lot of laws here are protecting them from being harmed. Not completely, but in a way, it is protecting them. So, yes, they wear the headscarf just because it's very specifically mentioned in the Quran. But the rest of the body, as long as it's covered, as not showing the skin, they kind of get away with it. But I agree with the part you say Sharia law doesn't exist. I agree with that. It's a myth.
Go ahead. I've seen this in Syria and in Jordan, and again, these countries in the Levant, and it's been about 10 years since I've been there. Those countries are a lot more lenient, or they used to be a lot more lenient when it came to Islamic rule, even though it was a definite, it was a definite player in the culture and in the government. They just weren't like Iran. They didn't have the police that came after you if you didn't dress a certain way. Now it's different. I've seen videos where women are decapitated on the street for wearing the color red, and that makes me really sad. But it's exactly what Inez said. You see, when Islam, if you want to talk about the religious parts of Islam, like covering up for modesty, which it's not for modesty, and like Inez said, you can visit our previous episodes where we actually went into hijab in detail as to why it is getting worn, or why it gets worn, and what the symbolism of it is. But Allah said cover up. He didn't say be modest. He didn't say, don't try not to look super sexy. He didn't say any of that. He just said cover up. So technically, as long as you have a piece of cloth around you, you're covered up. And again, there's where you have the differences in modesty and morals in other religions, whereas Islam is legalistic because it's a law system. It is not a moral, ethical, religious system. The second question is, I was wondering if you would be kind enough to explain the real purpose of mosques, as they are the subject of much debate in Australia. We fight hard against the construction of every single one. Recently, a 15-year-old jihadist shot a policeman dead at the police station. He acquired the weapon minutes before from a nearby mosque. Also, once the mosque is established, crime stats increase markedly. Surprise, surprise.
Oh, sure.
What do you think?
So I normally say, if I was about to get one short answer, generalize everything. Mosque is, when a mosque is built in any area, that area has been conquered by Islam. Sharia is there and it's going to rule. Now, sometimes in specific areas, there are actually, in Los Angeles, California, it happened. They built the mosque, an extra one, specifically for what I call a conference room. So basically the purpose of it is for all the leaders and all the soldiers to get together pretending they're going for prayer, but they're basically going for planning. And I made a video on that too, which actually, by the way, it turned out to be a huge backlash on myself, because it was a few days before the Paris attack, and a lot of people actually started saying, oh, you work with them, so you knew it's about to happen. I'm like, I do. They meet me in a dark alley, they hand me the envelope of money, and then I come and tell you what they're about to do. What the hell? But anyways, moving on. Some of the mosques are absolutely, and from my experience in Iran at least, the smaller and the more simple mosques are actually for those activities. For the actual prayer and also, ruling of the area, they make a fancy, big, the best they can. But if you come across a mosque that's just there to be there, I actually 100% strongly say it's an actual meeting area for terrorists. That's just my experience within Iran. Also in Turkey, in a way, I've seen a few of them when I was in Turkey, and in Pakistan, the same thing. So that's my explanation of mosque. And in any shape or form, I don't believe for a second a mosque is built because they want Muslims to go in there and pray. Because at least on the Shia side, I know that it is not any different. The prayer doesn't give you more or less if you're doing it alone or you're doing it with other people. It just doesn't matter. So there's no actual meaning behind, empowering your prayer or getting a better energy out of it or anything like that. No. All of them are basically just to show power. But I don't know what about you, Fred?
I'm with you. I really can't add anything else to that. It's the same thing. When a mosque comes into an area, understand Sharia is officially there. Now, prior to a mosque coming into an area, I think this is something important. There is a mosque there before the mosque is actually built. They start with houses where they meet and they do their prayers and their whatever else it is that they talk about in these meetings. And then from there, they go into plans into building a mosque. Now, a mosque is a symbol that Muslims are there and that this is their area and this is their culture. It's very important to remember that a lot of the mosques that you see in Europe, especially in Spain, were not mosques. Those were churches that were turned into mosques as a symbol of victory, as a symbol of we're here, we're taking over. So wherever you see them built, that's definitely something to look at and understand. Also, you have to understand that worship is not the primary use of a mosque. A mosque is a meeting place. In Arabic, there's another word. There's a couple of words to describe mosque in Arabic. There's masjid, which means to kneel, and then there's mujamma, or jamir. Sorry, jamir means the gatherer. It is important to know that Muhammad and a lot of his caliphate and a lot of his brethren did a lot of their military planning in the mosques. The mosques are a place for meeting for military, for laws to be issued, for judgments to be executed. It depends on the community, how Islamic it is. Like, for example, in Iraq right now, they don't need to execute judgments in mosques because they have the public square. But in places where they don't have a public square, if you and your wife are fighting, you're going to take her to the mosque. Well, if you do take her to the mosque, you're going to take her to the mosque, and then you're going to talk to the sheikh there. And then he's going to give you his judgment, and you may carry out there, you may carry it out in your house. But a mosque is not like a church at all. Do not equate a mosque to a church, to a synagogue, to, I don't know what other names there are. Those are not the same, period. But I don't live in an area where there's a mosque within probably a good 100 miles. And I find that awful noise that they make 5 times a day to be extremely disturbing. That's it. Do you live by a mosque? I doubt you do. No.
Oh, no.
Yeah, that's like actually part of my house checking list because I bought my house, and in that area, I'm serious. You know how people say like 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms? Mine was first thing, mosque, Muslim population. Okay, I go by minorities. Well, not really necessarily minorities, but wherever there's no huge multicultural system, that's where I feel the most comfortable. This is my life. Third question. I have been curious to know what the regular, not politicians or religious zealots folks in the Middle East think of regular Americans. Again, not politicians. What do you think can be done to help both groups of people to be more understanding and accepting of one another? So the first question is, how do they feel about American people in Iran?
Oh, I have answered that before a few times. Just normal people on the street who are not extremely involved with the government or extremely involved with Islam or any of that, they actually think of American people as cool. And the main reason for it actually is because they say Americans have cool music, and Iran has a huge history in music, so we're all like in love with music. So normal people have absolutely, not only they don't have anything against American people, but they actually love them. You see a lot of videos on YouTube where Americans went to Iran, to different cities, and they talk to people, and a lot of people gather and welcome there and greet them with their broken English, try their best to communicate with them. So yeah, they pretty much love them.
In the Middle East, in the rest of the Middle East, I can tell you that when I was a kid, of course, things are a lot different right now. You have to understand, ISIS is ruling that area. So even if you don't, in your heart, hate Americans or want to kill your Christian neighbor, you're still faced with the decision, it's my life or theirs. If you don't go with them, then you might as well be with the Christians and the non-Muslims and the Americans. So what's going on today is a completely different story than what I'm about to tell you. When I was a kid and I was in the Middle East, it was really cool to be American. People dressed like Americans. People used American products, McDonald's, KFC, Coca-Cola, Pepsi, all of that. You always had the actual real devout Muslims who, I don't know if you've ever heard this, Inez, but they used to say, boycott Pepsi, because Pepsi means pay every penny to support Israel. They used to actually put this out in schools. And, I used to laugh about it, but now that I think about it, there has been a movement for a very long time to push to support what ISIS is doing right now. Like my generation of people, I have cousins that are my age that are in the Middle East, are completely brainwashed right now. And they're not the people I sometimes maybe Facebook stalked them in the past to see if maybe I could talk to them. Their Facebook is like filled with jihad, bullcrap, and I'm like, wow, we used to dream about going to the States together and, living our lives and doing what we want to do for fun. But, that type of propaganda has been going around for a long time. Like I've said before in the past, America is an empire that has conquered without weapons because people actually want to be like us. They want to listen to our music and they want to have our freedoms and they believe in our freedoms. They want to come to America. Listen to me. Every single member of ISIS who's not originally from Europe or the United States wants to come to America. This is the great contradiction. They want to come here. They want to enjoy what we have. They just want to ruin it.
Yeah, they want it Islamic.
Yes. It's like, oh, look at America. It's so great. Let's make it Islamic because it's worked so well for the crap holes we come from. That was a little overboard. Anyways, point is, this is something that my dad did. He's always like, I can't wait to go back to the West, and I love the West, and I love Americans, and he dressed like Americans. But he was also donating money to jihadis in Russia, and, to mosques and everything else, even though he never went and actually prayed in a mosque. But, except for occasionally maybe on Eid, that's the holiday. Maybe on the Eid he showed up and prayed, but that's it.
Yes.
What?
So if you have that on Sunni, but in Shia side, here's when you say donated money to them, it's like if you die and you have a lot of prayer owed for whatever reason, you missed a lot of prayer or even a little bit of prayer, fasting, anything like that, your kids or whomever is left of you, I don't even, what's the word that, I know there's a word for it, but whatever. Anyways, people who are, your family, there's a calculation for it by today's money that they can actually pay as a cost for those missing pieces and you're forgiven. Now, in a real life, like when you're alive, if you miss going to mosque or doing your prayer, you can donate to the cause of Allah. And so maybe that's what your dad was doing, he was paying them so you don't have to.
Maybe. I've never heard of that before. I've never heard of that before, but maybe, I don't put it past them. I know that they do zakah on behalf of a dead person, but is it guaranteed that they will be forgiven? No. By the way, we should really discuss the torment in the grave. We should really discuss that. People will, jaw, floor, automatic. Nobody, just a small snippet of this, nobody's actually forgiven to the point of no punishment in Islam. The only person in the entire world who was ever allowed to skip over what is called the grave punishment, or actually it's called torture of the grave, is the literal translation of it, is Muhammad.
Oh, what a great one.
That's it. Everybody else has to go through the torture of the grave. Anyways, the second part of this question was, what do you think can be done to help both groups of people to be more understanding and accepting of one another?
Well, I go back to my same answer, education. One thing about, let's just compare Iran and America for a second, because I'll know both. So if you go to Iran, as I said, you talk to an Iranian person in Iran and say, describe an American man. They're going to say, they're cool. Okay, why are they cool? Well, they drink alcohol and they listen to music. Oh, is that why they're cool? Pretty much. They can't go beyond that because they don't know anything, just because a country is blocking every possible access to educate people about American culture. So since they don't know the culture, they go with what they see on movies. Oh, they carry a gun, they drink alcohol, and they listen to cool music. Now, you talk about American women, without a doubt, every single person is going to say, they're blonde. That's a hot thing. Okay, anything beyond that? No. So they need to be educated. Because here's how I started falling in love with American culture. When I got here, that's all I knew. Okay, believe it or not, on my way here from Turkey, which was a long flight, I had to go from Turkey to Germany, from Germany to Miami. I had to stay there overnight and then fly to my original place, which, by the way, I went to Chicago. So that's where everything was issued. So with the entire time, here's what I'm thinking. I'm like 18 years and a couple of months. So I'm like, I need to save some money and go dye my hair blonde. That was it. That was all I could think of, because I will fit in if I'm not blonde. And to this day, I actually never went blonde because it just doesn't work with the, skin color. That was the mentality of me getting here. Now, educating myself, getting to know them, I forgot about that part completely. I started falling in love with everything else that I didn't know about. Right? The compassion. There's a lot of compassion within American culture, and I love that because that's actually very close to our culture. Persian culture is all about loving, caring, compassion. You see, if that comparison was to be made between Americans and Iranians, they would easily start liking each other a lot more. And on the other hand, American people, I have started making a few videos about the actual original culture of Persia because, again, I don't blame them, but today everybody's like, you Arab Iranians, okay, can be. Well, we do have some mix, but, or you Muslim Iranians, no, no, no. But you see, education again. I actually realized a few days ago that apparently until the nuclear deal with Iran started, a lot of people here didn't know there is a Iran and then there's Iraq. They actually think it's the same thing. So that's again education. The more, and it's fun to learn other cultures. You know, it's not. I mean, I'm not saying sit and read the Quran, torture your mind. Reading, culture. You can go on Google and Google Persia. There's a huge amount of research material there that you can just read and get to know the country, the culture, and all that. So I'm not gonna just I can keep going. I can keep going when it comes to that. But I would say the answer is education. We need to educate ourselves on all different cultures because it's not about religion. That question is not about religion. It's about culture. Now, because of Islamic government in Iran, they have to set everything about American culture. They have. But if anybody could educate themselves in the reality of it, then they could just ignore what government is telling them.
So, would you say with, let's talk about Iran exactly, with the Islamic rule on Iran, is there a way, and I want to use the exact words of the question, is there a way that Islamic Iran, Islamic Khomeini, that Khomeini could be more understanding and accepting of Americans in the West, or anybody who follows him in Iran, which is a pretty... It's a good part of the population that is Islamic. Is there any way, without taking that Islam elephant out of the room, is there any way that Islamic Iran can accept and understand Western culture?
No. Reason. One, you can't take that Islamic elephant out of the room. As soon as you do that, you took Khomeini, and the brothers out. Because that's what they breed. They breed Islam. Secondly, every single aspect of Western culture goes against Sharia law. In Western culture, you are taught, you are raised to know that you respect women. In Sharia law, you grow up to know woman is a piece of property. You see? No, sadly, very sadly, not a possibility at all. We can't achieve that.
I'm gonna have to agree with you. There is no acceptance and understanding, even on my side. I'm gonna talk about my side to begin with. There is no scenario, there is no way on earth, there's no way in heaven or in hell that there is any chance that I would be accepting of Islam. There's no way. There's no way that I could ever be in a room with a Muslim and say, I'm okay with everything you do. It's a moral handicap to do that. It's not like, okay, so I'm a devout Christian. Everybody knows this. It's not like putting me in a room with a Buddhist. I can disagree with them. I can disagree with the Buddhist, and we can still be like this. We could be like, everybody knows Inez. Nobody knows whatever she has going on with her faith or lack thereof. But her and I are like this. I can't be like this with a Muslim because I can't agree with them on what they believe in. It's morally and ethically degrading for me to say, oh, okay, y'all just go over there and do whatever you want to do, and I'll be here sitting happily, and we'll just be okay. It's not going to happen. So that's on my part. Definitely on their part, it's not going to happen, because here's the thing. Like we said before, we just answered the question. They want everything that we have. But then when they find out how we have what we have, women's rights, children's rights, minorities' rights, okay, let's not call black people slaves. Like, how about that? Let's start with that. The Middle East, when I was 6 years old, I did one of these. I was just fresh out of the United States, and there's not a huge population of black people, and a Sudanese guy was walking across the street, and my dad's sister cross the street from him so she doesn't have to walk on the same side. And I said, why do we cross the street? We need to be on the other side. And she said, in Arabic, she said, La abid ma bidna nimshi jambo, which means, no, if it's a slave, we're not going to walk next to him. And he's not a slave, but they still dub them slaves because it's part of the flipping thing of Islam. And again, it's not written anywhere that all blacks are slaves in Islam. No. But it's also not true that Islam bans slavery. Please understand this. Some of Islam's most prominent merchants traded in slaves, and they had Muslim slaves. So, no, I don't think there's any way we can accept it without Islam. If Islam is gone, then I think there would be a lot more harmony. I think that if people understood, like what Inez said, where they come from, what their culture is, what their heritage is, then I think everybody would be in a better boat and we could understand, because then the differences are just cultural. You just have different music, different food, different taste, different way of life. It's not ethical or moral. And that's where the tension and the problems come in, is the ethical and the moral questions. And we answered this in the last video, Inez, with a soldier that actually is facing a lot of problems right now with the military because he stood against the boy rape in Afghanistan. So how can you accept that? How can you be okay with it? Are you going to change your morals? Or are you going to wait until they change theirs?
Well, you see, just it's not about changing. I'm all about changing. But when it comes to Islam, it's not that you change your morals, it's you kiss them goodbye.
Yeah.
And I don't think anyone who has experienced Western life can ever get to that point. Don't get me wrong. Yes, I have actually had this argument that, oh, you generalize. No, we do have serial killers. Yes. We do have psychopaths. Yes. But numbers are not high. And secondly, they're not doing it because they were taught by culture. They're doing it because they were either born with some sort of cuckoo crazy up there, or they went through a tough life and they decided to turn into who they are. That's a difference. You know, in West, we do have robbers, we do have rapists, all of that exists. However, there are laws against them. So we are protected by our government. When in Islam, they are taught to do that, and victims are not actually victims. They're just going to do it. You see, that's a part that people need, because I had this new argument coming my way that, well, we have rapists here too, well, we have robbers here too, da 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 da. I'm like, well, but you need to know the reason behind it. And if you're going to deny the fact that there are two hugely different reasons behind why Muslims are doing it than why Western people are doing it, then unfortunately, nothing I can explain that would change your mind. And unfortunately, you'll be the very first victim of Islam when they come to you. Because you're going to go into the same denial. You're going to sit in the same room and tell them, okay, you do what you do. Guess what? What they do is rape you and chop your head off. So you become the first victim.
You hit on something amazing, because it's true. A lot of people say, well, you know, ISIS is like the KKK. Stop. The stupid has to stop coming out of your mouth. ISIS is nothing like the KKK. Not that I agree with the KKK, but here's the thing. Our entire American society frowns upon the KKK. There is no way that the KKK could release a video that would go on national news, that would be broadcasted as an educational video, where a little KKK white, blue-eyed, blonde-haired child is stabbing a black doll, and that would be okay. There isn't. There's no way that would be done in the middle of a schoolyard and people would be taking pictures and saying, oh, look how cute little Tommy is, whatever the name is. There is a huge difference. We call the rapists and the psychopaths and we lock them up in jail, or we put them in a mental ward. We don't celebrate them. We don't throw parties when our kid straps bombs on themselves and goes and blows something up. There's a huge difference. But, you know, it's one of my friends sent me a picture of this white guy, because this is, whatever, he's white, and he's wearing the Palestinian little head drapey thing, and he's all pro-Palestine, and then he had on the back, listen to this, Inez, in the background of his picture for Facebook, he has all this writing in Arabic and English, and it says that California was named after Caliph from the Caliphate. Just when I thought that I've heard all of the stupid that could come out of people's mouths.
Don't ever think that.
California is Islamic because it comes from the word caliphate. Wow.
Just because it sounds the same, it doesn't mean the same.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You see, it goes back to what? Education. Educate yourself. Look at the spelling. Just because you can say it doesn't mean you know what it means.
It is education, and that's a huge part of it, because if I could ask anything of Westerners, even though I consider myself a Westerner, stop blaming yourself. You are not the root of all evil in the world. You did not cause chaos in the Middle East. It's been a crap hole for a long, long time. It's been wars for a very, very long time, long before America was even a thought. 1,400 years ago, the Muslims were still killing people, and America and England, and none of them had anything to do with it. None of them, period. So stop demonizing yourselves, stop blaming yourself, and stop with the white guilt crap. It's getting old. Let them take responsibility for what they do. They're the people that are pulling their daughters out of schools. So they say they're not educated because the white man colonized. No. When the white man colonized, they built schools. They tried to get girls into schools. They built hospitals. Did they make a lot of mistakes? Yes, they did. But at the end of the day, Islam is to blame for the disaster that's in the Middle East. We've made mistakes as Americans. But again, terrorism is not our fault, because Muslims were hijacking our ships when we were just beginning to be a country. They were, the Muslim Somali pirates were here 300 years ago, before we were even a country. I don't know, but Iran. Iran was a beautiful, huge, massive empire that excelled in music and food and culture, and yeah, they did a lot of wars, but it was an amazing, amazing empire before Islam came over and took over. And very recently, actually, up until the Shah, when you had the Shah in Iran, correct me if I'm wrong, Inez, people were pretty free to dress the way they want, go to school. You had women in colleges, right?
Well, yeah, but one thing about our history that a lot of people, I'm sure, don't know is at some point before Reza Shah Pahlavi Shah, there was a time when one of the kings in Iran stopped and said, I am banning Sharia in my country. Yes, people, Sharia was banned in Iran.
Wow.
They would walk on the street. The police was allowed to pull the hijab off people's head. They could not complain. The law said, by then, the king said, anyone who likes to practice Islam is going to be home arrested. You're going to stay in your home until you realize this is not something you want to promote on my streets. You come out with your hijab will be removed by my officers. You try to build a mosque, I will take it down and rebuild it into a school.
Wow.
Exactly. And still, they did find their way back. 37 years ago, they found their way back. See, that's, again, it goes back to me sounding like a broken record. Education, education, education. A lot of people say, well, Iran was Islamic, 1,400 years ago. No. There has been many times that Iran took back their culture, their country, but they just won't let go. They attack back, attack back, attack. This time, well, we had, 37 years ago. Unfortunately, this time, they're not going anywhere. Nobody can handle them. But the point is, yes, we did have a king who banned Sharia in Iran. Yeah, you see, again, the problem is history. They're trying so hard to erase history.
Oh yes, of course. That's why they burn down libraries and destroy priceless architecture and priceless art and priceless monuments. That's what they do. They go in and they destroy it. I mean, they burned down the library in one of the libraries in Iraq that was almost 2,000 years old. Can you imagine the amount of history and culture and that's just lost forever?
But do you know why they do that? Everything about Islam is lies. They have to get rid of any proof before they can go into he said, he said.
Of course. Wait, I don't know if you know the story, but do you know, my goodness, it was somewhere in India, I believe, where the Muslims went in and they, after, of course, they raped all the virgins in the Buddhist and Hindu temples and then locked them into the temples and burned the temples down with them in them. They went to burn the library. One of the soldiers told the commander, he said, you want us to burn this entire library? He said, yeah. If it's in the Quran, if it's true, then it'll be in the Quran. If it's not true, then we don't need it anyways. Like just simply and they burned it down. If it's true, it'll be in the Quran, so we don't need the books. If it's not true, we don't need the books anyways. And guess what? Those people that died and got killed and got genocide that took place, they didn't get to rewrite their history. So that's lost to the world forever. And that's happening in the Middle East right now. Whether or not Barack Hussein Obama wants to admit that it is genocide of Christians and other minorities in that region, that is what's going on. Entire histories are being wiped out. So again, we can go on about this forever, and we kind of moved away from what the question was, but there's no way that I can accept that. And there's a reason that we are talking about this, Inez and I, is because we rejected it. We rejected that idea. Islam is not a religion, so it's not part of your religious freedoms. It is in any aspect, in this one aspect, it is like the KKK. It should be illegal. They should have to run and hide. And then we should have to get them, educate them, and reintroduce them into what is called humanity. Decency, compassion, love for life, love for God, love for not God, whatever you want to do with that. But live and let live. Live and let live is a good way to go. Islam, there's no live and let live. There's live and kill. That. Well, this has been quite the episode. Every time I think it's going to be a nice, simple, short, and sweet episode, Inez and I get to talking, and then it's, oh, did you know this, and did you know that, and did you hear this, and did you hear that? Hopefully you guys feel the same way, and you enjoy our talks as much as we enjoy our talks. Believe it or not, we talk way before the video starts, and way before it finishes. And we never discuss the questions before we put them on here. So all of our talks are completely separate from what goes on over here. We absolutely love doing these videos, and we could use all the help that we can get. So if you can donate your time, if you could donate your talent, if you can volunteer some of your resources, whether that's monetary or otherwise, please do so. You can go to voxpopuli.news.net. It is right here, voxpopuli.news.net, or you can go to the Live Up to Freedom site that Inez has, and you can donate through PayPal. Unfortunately, listen, we are not a 501c3, but Inez has some kick-ass stuff on her website. I love the t-shirts, hoodies, everything and anything you could possibly like. I love the blue t-shirt that has the Star of David, I wonder why, and it has Jewish Lives Matter. Absolutely love that. I think she actually just made it for me, but I'm going to keep that to myself. Don't deny it, Inez. I love that t-shirt. It's beautiful. But anyways, check it out. The stuff is super cool. The link is right here. I'm also going to put a link in the description so you can just click on it. So just click and shop. These make amazing gifts. The hoodies are super nice. And you can give them for Mother's Day, Father's Day, anniversaries, just because you love your neighbor. And, find a liberal and give them a gift. Give them the gift of one of Inez's stuff. Thank you so much for being with us today. And we are going to release all of our episodes, by the way, on Fridays at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Every Friday, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Be sure to check VoxPopuli.news.net and go to our YouTube page, and you will find our episodes. Thank you so much, and have a good night. Welcome to the 6th episode of Islam Questions and Answers on VoxPopuli.news.net. I am your host, Fair Prudence, with my beautiful co-host, Inez Annie Cyrus. And today we are going to answer a few questions that we got from our viewers. You guys sent these to submissions at VoxPopuli.news.net, or you sent them to me on Facebook or Inez on Facebook. We put them all together and we mix them up and we take them from there. For the first question today, I'm going to read it. It's going to be an interesting answer. Can you give a percentage of Muslims that follow the Quran and do the atrocities such as vaginal mutilation, facial mutilation on women, young boys as dance, sex slaves, sexual abuse on girls, new wives before first menstrual cycle? I have been doing a lot of research on all of this, and I just want something that I can give as proof to all of those out there who are calling me a racist, a bigot, a hate monger, that what I have learned and put out there for them to learn to protect their families is true. Thank you, and I'm so happy that you were able to escape and live. That is quite the question. When it comes to me, because my answer is going to be super short for this, I don't have a percentage. I'm no longer in that community. I don't know. But here's what I do know is that whatever happens does not get put out in the media. It's not like they take a census and they're like, oh, well, how many daughters do you have? I have 4 daughters. How many daughters have you performed FGM on? That's female genital mutilation. Oh, I did it for 3 of my daughters. Okay, well, we're going to put down that as percentage. It's just not. And usually in the Muslim communities, everything is very hush-hush, very to the family. You keep it secret. You don't talk about that. I know in other episodes I said that a Muslim's honor is between the thighs of his women. So that's part of the honor system. They don't talk about it. As far as people, and it is very prevalent, the more, to me, in my experience and what I have seen, the more poor you get, the wider spread it is. So when you're talking about the more poor communities within Muslim communities, that's where you'll really find it to be widespread. But in terms of acid throwings on the face, that happens everywhere. It's random. They'll go out to the mall, for example. In Jordan, it's happened where they'll go out to the mall, and if a girl's not dressed appropriately, they'll throw acid in her face. And it's not necessarily the family that does that. It's just random people. But you will never, ever be able to get any kind of proof that will stop people from calling you a bigot or hateful or a racist, because people have told me those names and I've lived it. And they've even gone as far as to say, even Muslims say, oh, well, you don't know how to pronounce the word Quran, because I know how to say Quran and Quran. And I'm truly bilingual. They tell me that I'm actually not from the Middle East and I've never lived it before, and what I'm saying is not the truth. Or my favorite, I know you know this one, Inez. You've just had a bad experience. But you will never be able to get people to stop saying that. All you have to do is all I would advise you to do is keep telling the truth. Make sure everything is well researched. Make sure you have all of the references. And if somebody calls you a bigot, pass them on. Tell the news and pass on and move on. Arguing with people is not going to get you anywhere. If people have convinced themselves, like Ben Affleck, that Islam is all rainbow farts and fairy dust, that's just what they're going to believe. There's no way you can change that. And hopefully they don't get real life experience to change them, but that's the only thing that will. What do you think, Inez?
Well, yeah, I would probably have the same short answer, I guess. There is no percentage. But what I would say is what a good friend of mine always says. I'm stealing this phrase from him, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what's percentage. The point is, if you have a bowl of M&M, and I tell you there are 10 of them poisonous, go and help yourself. It's not about the actual number. When you hear one case, we hear way more than one, but if you hear one case, that should be enough for you to want to get up, stand up, take action, do something about it. Percentage doesn't exist. In Iran, the female genital mutilation doesn't take place as much as Afghanistan, Pakistan, or Africa, but the acid throwing on the face happens a lot, and I mean a lot. Reasons, yes, on the street, Sepah, which is one of the police groups, if you're not wearing what you should be, or you're not proper, or you have a makeup, that will happen. The other reason is that if a woman can find a way, a loophole in system to get a divorce, in retaliation, the man's family will find you. I have posted a video of 2 different cases in Iran recently. That was the case. She managed to get a divorce, and the reward for it was, disfigure her face. So no, I don't have percentage either, but I can tell you, I agree with you, Farah. There's no point of arguing. I always get questioned that, oh, you don't understand anybody else's opinion. You just keep blocking people on your face. Yeah, exactly. If I wanted your opinion, I would have come and asked you. I'm here to educate, not to be educated. I have enough education, and yeah, I don't have few bad experiences. No, I lived it. Luckily, I didn't get as far as getting my face disfigured, but the rest happened. So you don't have to argue with people. If you know the truth, just keep telling it. Even if you can get one person to listen to you and start studying the Islam and the Quran, that's good enough. And I always say, I don't care. Actually, the more I get called names, I feel that I'm doing better.
Thank you. The second question is, I'm wondering if Muslims are against Easter and Christians and hate everything that they stand for, why do they impose their halal tax on Easter eggs and Christmas candy stockings? Is that... not sure where halal tax gets imposed on these things. But even if a country is a Muslim country and you have the Christians who are paying the jizya or not yet paying the jizya, like I'll go back to Jordan because that's a country that I've lived in. I'm not sure how that or where that question comes from because there isn't halal tax. I guess they can make halal stuff and sell it, and then there's the halal tax that they can put on it. But what do you think, Inez?
No, I'm not sure where the question comes from either, but I do have this answer that halal is not something by Quran, as I said before. Nowhere in Quran will you see that Allah said you have to eat halal. No, it does say clean. It does say if you got it by the agreement, if you didn't steal it. But there's no actually, I'm about to do a video on that one, which I'm guessing my head's going to go off for that one. But there are only 4 verses in Quran where it is a talk of what you could or could not eat. And in none of them does it mention anything about how to kill your animal or how to do the halal. None of that is mentioned. It's all a business. It's all a business. Muhammad, when Ali, the Imam of Shia, which was his son-in-law back then, he opened a slaughterhouse How do we get people to buy the meat? We come up with the word halal. The meat has to be halal. It was all started. So therefore, because it's just a business aspect, even if there is such a thing as halal tax, it's a business. It's going to go anywhere it can go. If they can collect, they will collect. Simple as that.
That's right. I had, growing up, I knew what halal food was, and that was fine. But then I got some links that somebody sent me to halal makeup and halal clothing. And I was looking at it, and I was like, there are some Muslims out there. There's got to be some Muslims out there that are looking at this and being like, what a bunch of crap. That's what they're looking at it and saying. Because there's nothing even in Sunnah that I have found, and I've looked into it, not a lot. There's nothing in Sunnah that says halal makeup and halal clothing. This is all just a fad. They're just trying, like Inez said, to make more money. All that halal means is that it's killed in a certain way for Allah. The head of the animal has to be in a certain direction. They have to kill it with the knife, and it has to slice the throat. It's actually quite inhumane because the animal is still alive through the entire thing. It's pretty disgusting, but so that's what halal means. There is no such thing as halal tax, not in Islamic doctrine. There is a tax, and then there's your zakah, which is your charity that you give away. That's about it. Anything else coming up with that, it's just crap to get more money. Now here's the thing. When it comes to Christmas and Easter, Muslims will often say, they won't say Merry Christmas, but they'll say, I wish you the best. Or, I hope you, have a great time, or something like that. The reason being, and we can put in the link to a video down here if I can find the English translation of it, they can't actually say the word Christmas, meaning in a congratulatory term, because then they admit that there was a Christ, and that goes against what they believe. And what they can say is, I wish you the best, because in their hearts, that means I wish you become a Muslim. Because to them, that's what I wish you the best means. But they can't say Merry Christmas because they become heretics in their religion. Now, if they're using taqiyya, they can use Merry Christmas. Okay, got your head? Done with that one. Okay, the third one. What is the caliphate business? Are there many caliphates or just one caliphate? Do all Muslims have to be subject to the caliphate? What does a caliphate do? Is he like the Pope? Let's start with the first one. What is a caliphate? Inez, you and I have talked about this before. This is how Islam got divided in the beginning. The word is khalifa in Arabic, and it refers to somebody who takes over. Min al-khilafa, who takes over after you. So, like, for example, if my great-grandmother was the matriarch, her khalifa, the person who takes after her to become the matriarch, is my grandmother. So that would be a real-life example. But the Islamic khilafah is those who came after Muhammad. Once Muhammad died, who was going to come after him to rule the Islamic nation? Because Islam is a political system. You don't have a nationality once you're a Muslim. You're a Muslim, you're under the Islamic nation, al-Ummah al-Islamiyya. I know you guys use al-Ummah too, right? Or not you guys. Shia use al-Ummah too, right, Inez?
Yes.
Okay. What does that cover it? Do the Shia have a different meaning for a Khalifa?
Oh no, it's pretty much the same. It's the leader who will take power after the last Khalifa, or Khalif, as they say here. Whomever is going to become the leader. Now, yeah, exactly. The problem starts between Shia and Sunni was Shia think Ali was the one, and Sunni go with Abu Bakr or Abu Bakr.
Go back to our previous episodes. We actually went into it in depth, and we talked about how it happened. The next question in that question is, are there many caliphates or just one caliphate?
There are many. Today, there are way too many, actually. That's actually the fight in Middle East right now. The Muslim killing each other is actually because of the different caliphate.
And this happened, it has been happening perpetually. At some point, the Shia went off with their own Khalifa, the Sunnis went off with their own Khalifa. At some point, even within the Sunni dynasty, I guess, there were several Khalifas or caliphates in the region, and that was one of the causes of the death of the Islamic nation or the Islamic empire. And just in case you don't know about this wasn't too long ago. The last of the caliphate was in the 1920s. So it hasn't been that long. It's not like this is ancient history. This is pretty recent in the history of humanity. Plus, of course, you have all of the underground stuff that was going on. There should be, in their utopian Islamic society, there should only be one Khalifa. It's very important that you understand. That's why because they want to have just one Khalifa that rules the entire nation. Next, do all Muslims have to be subject to the caliphate? Yes.
Don't even think about it.
Yes, you. I mean, you don't have to, but I mean, would you like to take your next breath? But you have a choice. It's just a bad choice. What do you think?
You don't have a choice, actually. Yeah, you do. Between bad and worse.
Yeah. So, it's like, I love it when they say, Muhammad gave Safiya, who is a Jewish woman from Khaybar, anyways, he gave her a choice. She was taken as a sex slave from a Jewish tribe, and he gave her a choice. He said, you can remain a sex slave and go with the other man, or you can become a Muslim and marry me. That's supposed to be a choice. Okay. After by the way, he just killed her dad and her husband. But, he's giving her a choice. Such an amazing man. Anyways, next question. What does a caliphate do? Is he like the Pope? What do you think, Inez?
No. Well, what? I normally use this example. I'm pretty sure by now everybody's familiar with Ayatollah Khamenei, or they say here Khamenei, the supreme leader of Islamic Republic of Iran. He's in a way the Khalifa. He makes all the decision for the country. He says, kill that woman, don't kill that one, hang that one, stone this one. That's what a Khalifa does. He will decide the ruling. He will decide the laws. He will decide your life. He will decide your fate. So he's basically the dictator. I think it's a word in English, right? Dictator. However, in another term that we in Iranian community call a Khalifa is, we also call him the angel of death. Because Israel, exactly. That's the call him. Because in any second, just like Allah, a Khalifa can change his mind on a rule and flip it, and you be dead. And he has the ultimate power. No one can override him. No one. In Iran, there was a case of adultery. The judge, decided that it wasn't proof. There wasn't enough proof. So they sentenced her to 25 years in prison. So we won't kill you because we can't prove that you committed adultery. But because you were accused and we don't want to let down our Muslim brother, we put you in jail for 25 years. The man, the husband who accused her, went all the way to Supreme Leader, presented him with the evidence, and Supreme Leader issued a stoning on her head. A week later, she was dead.
Wow.
So that's how Khalifa is within Shia industry.
The Khalifa, the Caliphate, is nothing like the Pope. And yes, I know what all those anti-Catholic people are saying right now. The Pope acted the exact same way as Khomeini at one point. Yes, I know. I know all about the witch trials. I know all about the Inquisition. I know all about those awful, awful things the Catholic Church did. And I'm not saying that they weren't or that they were correct, because they weren't. However, by Christian doctrine, the Pope, or by Catholic doctrine, the Pope should not be a political leader. He is not in a position to be a political leader. He is supposed to be a representative of God on earth, like Jesus was, and kind of like following in the footsteps of Jesus. And I could be wrong, but feel free to send me the verse where Jesus stoned a woman. Like, that would be really helpful. Or if you could send me the verse where Jesus led an army against someone. Or the verse where Jesus said, if somebody leaves Christianity, off with their heads. That would be nice. If you don't have that, shut up. Don't leave me a comment. Go read a book or get some counseling, okay? Let's figure that out first. Second of all, the caliphate is a supreme leader. He is God on earth to a certain extent. He is, like what Inez said, Azrael, or the angel of death. He is God on earth. He has all of the power to take life. He has a political power, a religious power, a social power. Inez, you had talked before about those books that Khomeini used to put out for the new religious and other social, like how you're supposed to do things, and basically it's a standard of procedure, right?
Pretty much. After Khomeini died and Khamenei took power, became the new caliph, he rewrote that book.
Okay, so that's what happens. Now, with the new Khalifa comes the new ruling of whatever they want to do. That's what happens. The problem is with the first caliphate, and it hurts so much when I say in the first caliphate, because I never thought there would be a second. I thought the world had learned its lesson, but apparently not. With the first caliphate, it kind of burned out due to extreme corruption. You had, like, Harun al-Rashid was a Khalifa, a Sunni Khalifa, and he had thousands of concubines and lots of corruption going on. Not that it was a halal for him, not that it wasn't okay for him to do that, but at the same time, he stopped being so much a political leader and got consumed with all of his life luxuries. And then, of course, the Ottomans and everything else that happened in the history of that region. But now we have a second caliphate, and apparently in Iran it never stopped. And now that's what we're dealing with. And all they have to do is do a mubay'ah. And mubay'ah is where they pledge allegiance to the caliphate. And once he has enough people around him, then that's it. He takes over and you become the nation of Islam. No longer do you have borders and countries and a national identity. Now everybody speaks Arabic, and now everybody has to follow Islamic doctrine, and you have Islamic political rule all over, and that's what happens. It's ISIS. ISIS is the child of Islam. It is the fruit, poisonous fruit. But some of these episodes are kind of depressing. I have to say, it takes quite a bit to sit down here and talk about it, and people are never going to really accept what we have to say unless they do their research and have an understanding of it and stop looking at it as we are being bigots, because bigotry is not accepting somebody else's point of view. And I guess by definition I am a bigot. I'm sorry. I'm not willing to accept somebody else seeing that it's okay to perform FGM on their daughters. What about you, Inez? Are you okay being called a bigot?
Oh, I am. I told you, I wear it proudly. Even when I'm called a racist, I just love it when they call me a racist. I'm like, how can a Persian be a racist towards Iran? Okay, but quick note, because I kind of started to realize that a lot of people don't know the actual meaning behind fatwa or fatwa. And they think as soon as you say fatwa, that means somebody's going to kill you. No, the fatwa is the ruling of the sheikh or the imam or the caliph. Fatwa is the bill. It's a law. It's a ruling. Now that fatwa could be your death, but fatwa does not mean a threat on your life. No, it's just a ruling. And just to expand a little on when I was explaining about Khamenei in Iran, the new fatwa came out about a year ago, where he said, well, I studied Islam. I talked to Muhammad on my dreams, because, by the way, Khamenei do that too. I don't know if you know or not, but he dreams. And in his dream, he talked to Muhammad, and he comes back and gives laws. And it became legal in Iran that if a man wants to marry a woman who has a daughter, and the daughter is under age of 18, the man can marry them both in order to be halal to both of them, in order to move into the same house. A supreme leader of a country in 2015 issued such a fatwa or such a ruling. So yeah, as you were saying, this is not, 1400 years ago. No, this is last year, where in order to make it easy for a man to marry a woman with a child, go ahead and marry them both. The woman becomes a permanent wife, the daughter becomes a rental wife until she grows to adult age, when, in order for her to be able to walk around the house without the hijab or covering herself, and if you sometimes feel like touchy with her too, you can just temporary marriage is allowed. That's what a khalifa does.
So disgusting on so
They
many
make it easy for a man to be a pedophile.
And that's all it is. You look at Islam, they're so consumed with sex. It's amazing. They hate us because they say that we're sexual, but they themselves are consumed up and down with sex and incest and other disgusting stuff. The fatwa, like Inez said, it's not different in Sunnis. The fatwa is a ruling. Now, if somebody says you have a fatwa on you or against you, yes, run. Start running. Because that means it's this pretty little place right here. But other than that, it basically in Islam, it is very strict. There is no two ways about this, whether it's Sunni or Shia. If something has been, and you correct me if I'm wrong, if something has been ruled on by the Quran or by the Sunnah, not the Sunnis, the Sunnah is everything Muhammad said and did. If it has been ruled, if Muhammad said something, if Muhammad said the sky is red, there is no amount of Islamic scholars, no amount of caliphates that can change it. The sky is red. Okay? Now, if Muhammad didn't quite give sky is red or a sky is turquoise, then yes, the Khalifas, the scholars can get together and they can say, here's the fatwa on what the color of the sky is. Right, Inez?
Exactly. Yes.
But if Muhammad, don't let somebody tell you that moderates can change it. You cannot change it. That is called tahrif. Tahrif is when you change anything in the Quran or in the Sunnah of Muhammad, and that is punishable by death. It is explicitly said in the Quran, it is explicitly said in the Sunnah, it cannot be changed. You have to follow Muhammad. And then when they actually make the fatwa, they can't go too off the rails with what Muhammad would have done, right? So if for example, Muhammad said that for adultery you get stoned to death or lashed to death, you can't say that if you just kind of flirt with a guy, then you just get a hit on your wrist. It has to be something close to the original. What would you say the word is? The original sin, maybe? The original wrong?
That's exactly how the ruling of Iran goes. If you're arrested on the street with a boy or a man, and you're not married or engaged here's a little different people need to know. In Iran, when you're engaged, you're basically married because they do the sirah. So until marriage, which is the permanent marriage, the engagement duration of time is also the temporary marriage or the rental marriage. So if you're not within that border, you will be punished by lashes. Now, it starts from 25. This is the minimum. You get 25 lashes if you were on the street in public, other people there. If you were arrested where it wasn't public or there were more than 5 people, witnesses around, it moves up to 45 lashes. Now, if you were arrested inside a closed area where nobody was witness, and the man says you didn't have any sexual intercourse, it goes to 95 lashes. Now, if a man stands there and says, or you were caught while having sex, then it's a stoning. See, but everything stays within the same border, exactly.
Yeah. So they could never, the fatwa on something like that could never be, oh, we will just forgive you.
No.
That'll never happen. So that is how we are going to wrap up this lovely episode of Islam Questions and Answers. Inez, I want you to remind people, please, about your awesome show that I co-host every other week with you on Mondays, and so much fun. I love it.
I know. It is every Monday. The time is 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. They can find us on Blog Talk Radio /FPC 2015. And the link is always also on my Facebook, on your Facebook, also on liveuptofreedom.com or lutf.org. But it is every Monday, and actually this Monday you are going to be on.
I love it. And you can go to voxpopuli.news.net. I've been doing the daily Vox Shot with Anthony Chioza, and it's a lot of fun. And we've been trying to keep it to 15 minutes, and it keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. I'm thinking at some point we're going to have our own radio show. So you, Anthony, and I can all just go at it for like a couple hours a day, because we could easily do that every day. That's not a problem at all. But if you are looking for the other episodes from Islam Questions and Answers, go to voxpopuli.news.net. We're going to have the link right here. You're going to have the link to everything that Inez said sitting right here. Leave us a comment. Definitely, if you're going to be idiotic, do not leave a comment. Please refrain from leaving a comment, because it will get deleted. And on my channel, I will delete it. You curse me out, you can do whatever you want. I won't delete it. But on the Islam Question and Answers, if you don't have anything of input, of importance, even if you're a Muslim and you want to leave something that says, here's the Quranic verses that says what you're saying is wrong, please do so. Tell me I'm wrong. But you probably won't. So, go to our YouTube channel. We also have a Facebook page that you can go to, Twitter. On my Twitter, I'm at Farah for America, and you can donate. Please, if you can spare some change, throw it at us. You can find our PayPal tab on the right hand of the screen when you see this episode, and share, and share. Leave us your comments, and we'll see you next week.
Don't forget, we are now training Bible teachers. We're training people who maybe want to start a home church. But we're doing more than training people, and you can find out all about it at worldviewtube.com.
Spiritual values, moral issues, government, economy, education, work, responsibility. What we think about these depends on our worldview. Now, VCY America presents Worldview Radio with Brannon House.
Welcome. Glad you are with us. We're going to be joined by Dave Gobbets. He's a former military man. He is also... Dave Gobbets is also a former federal agent. He's retired, but he has gone undercover in over 425 mosques in America. You might remember we paid him an honorarium and a fee and travel expenses to go and investigate what was going on with the mosques in Plano, Texas. He wrote us a sworn affidavit, turned it over, and later we were reached out to by the Attorney General's office in Texas asking for that report to help them as they investigate what's happening with these mosques in Texas. He joins us today because, folks, maybe by now you have seen the reports, and that is the IRGC is disrupting water in more than one state. Minnesota is one. Now, I know President Trump came out today and he's blaming the government of not Wisconsin, the government of Minnesota. Okay, I understand he doesn't like Tim Walz. I think there's reason